This is Food Chemistry Unit 5. We're still in Chapter 18, How Pathogens Enter the Food Supply. New, hardier strains of bacteria exist. Bacteria reproduce quickly. Genetic changes take less than 24 hours to develop. So for example, antibiotics given to chickens, most of the bacteria is killed. There's a small percentage that could survive. These survivors are harder to kill and are resistant to an antibiotic. That's your new strain. Transmission by animals. Animals, warm-blooded animals are carriers. They have microbes living on them. They get into the food supply in the slaughterhouse. Food products that come in contact with animal feces could be a source of contamination. Like fruit that drops on the ground, just, like if apples just drop out of the tree, and there happens to be animal feces where that apple falls, right? Any fruit that's not properly washed is contaminated. Any bruised fruit that passes through and is pressed for apple juice, it's not properly washed, that's contaminated and now in the food supply. Raw fish. Parasites live in fish and shellfish, and people eat raw fish, so parasites could be transferred to humans. Fish that will be eaten raw should be frozen for 15 hours first, according to the FDA. It's the recommendation. Meat and dairy. Meat, milk, and eggs are often associated with foodborne illness. These are popular and widely consumed in the U.S. People often do not cook or handle these properly. Many believe eating raw eggs is a healthy way to get protein, but like I mentioned before, you risk some salmonellosis. Improper handling procedures. People do not cook foods long enough or at the proper temperatures. Food handlers and customers do not always practice proper hygiene. Hands are not washed or not washed properly. If somebody is sick and they're breathing around you without a mask, hair, sweat, hair should be in a hairnet, right? Sweat can drip into the food. Gloves, hairnets, and aprons should be worn at all times. Cross-contamination, a contaminated substance comes in contact with the food. You often see this on cutting boards that are used for slicing raw meat. Those need to be thoroughly cleaned before using the same board to cut vegetables. Salmonella bacteria can survive on the board. Uninformed consumers. That's part of the problem, right? You should know your food and how to handle it. Be informed. Food industry sanitation procedures. So there is this HACCP. It's a hazard analysis and critical control point. This looks at every point in the food production process where contamination occurs. In the 1960s, it was developed by NASA and Natick Laboratories together with Pillsbury. And in 1971, their system was designed. In 1998 to 2000, between those years, the meat and fish producers were required to use it. January of 2001, fruit juicers were required to use it. Today, still voluntary, but most food businesses will adopt it because they know they're going to be inspected, and those inspections do not have to be announced. So what are the steps? So the HACCP steps. You conduct a hazard analysis. You look at the type of food, storage, and contact with humans and machinery. You map out a path of the food, the critical control points, and you establish standards that are specific and measurable, and employees must be trained. You monitor those control points, you check the equipment and the handlers' use of gloves and aprons, and correct any issues that are discovered. You keep records, time and temperature logs for batches of food prepared. The HACCP will come to verify your system. This could be the FDA, USDA, or local health department will do this.